Live along with Mary Carrillo. Great to see you, Ted. How are things going for you, your Mary, and your family?
Thank you, Steve. It's great. Well, first of all, it's great to be able to chime back in with my Tennis Channel family. You guys have been crushing it with these shows. Real quickly, I'm about a week away from soft mullet here, okay? And I think maybe 3 weeks to ponytail.
Okay.
But I have to tell you, Mary, you will appreciate this. The highlight so far this session for me, we have out here, I'm sure you do too, you have these special hours where you go to the shopping, to the supermarket early in the morning for the veteran shoppers, right? So I go to my supermarket on Saturday morning about 7:30. I have to stand in line, and I'm in line, and here comes some shoppers behind me, and I'm getting a little bit of a stank eye, that old New York stank eye, Mary, you can tell. I get to the front, and the security man who's running it goes, this is the senior shopping hour. And I said, oh, that's awesome. It's a great idea. He goes, this is for 60 years and over. And I said, it's the best thing. I'm so happy. Look at how crowded it is. He goes, no, you have to be 60 to come in. And I said, well, my two grandkids, I made them promise I was going to bring them back special cookies. And he looks at me and goes, you're kidding, aren't you? I got carded at the supermarket. I've been carded since I was in college. How awesome.
You got grandfather carded. That's outstanding. I'll tell you what, and I know it's been a short tennis season, but one of the items on your bucket list was go to the Australian Open for the first time. And I'm very happy that you went in my place because I know you had a terrific time in Melbourne.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard Mary and all of our colleagues talk about this forever. And I've been there for the Olympics, but never to Melbourne and never for the Australian Open. And given that what we saw there is the last tennis we're going to see for a while, I'm thrilled. And Mary, you talked about it. I remember when 2017, we're watching 2017 Wimbledon today. I remember you talking about the 2017 Australian Open and how necessary it was to have the good stories of Venus and Serena and then of Roger and Rafa playing. And we needed that at the time. I vividly remember that. And it carried, of course, into this Wimbledon that we're watching.
Exactly right. I know Steve has plenty of questions for you. Let me ask you, as someone who has covered many Olympics, baseball, football, are you of the mind that you can put sports back out there without fans?
Sure, you can. I think you can, Mary. Nothing is going to be easy right now. When we come back, nothing will be normal as we've come to know it. I've been very strong, even going back to when the French Open made their unilateral decision to move. I think the sooner that competition begins, the better. However, we do it safely, and that's the obvious caveat. Has to be safe for the competitors, safe for the workers, but it's jobs and it's jobs for everybody. I think it's imperative that it be done as soon as safely possible.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants. It's got to be safe, but the sooner the better for everyone involved, getting sports back on the court, the field, wherever it may be, fans or no fans. Ted, you've been covering Wimbledon for so many years. We spoke last night a little bit about the early years, 2000 to 2002, and what kind of stood out to you from those years of your experience.
40 years. Oh, my God. That's tough to look at.
And you're still getting caught.
Oh, I know. No, seriously, very, very quickly. I was extraordinarily honored to have a chance to go to Wimbledon for the first time in 2000. I was hired to follow Dick Enberg, who's the greatest tennis broadcaster in the role that I fill that I've ever seen in my life. So I was incredibly in awe of this opportunity. I went largely because of the support of John McEnroe, who therefore was instructing me on what was going to happen at this first Wimbledon, just as Mary did way before that, the first U.S. Open I ever worked with Mary in 1987. And Mary took me around and led me by the hand. And after 1 year of that, Carrillo said, that's enough of this knucklehead. I'm going to make a dash for cash and go somewhere else. But anyway, the first day I ever worked at Wimbledon, 2000, it was the Millennium Championships. And the first day that NBC was on the air, Wimbledon honored 59 former champions, and they walked out on court. And again, because John was a friend, he had warned me about what was going to happen. It was an extremely important day for him because, his history with Wimbledon was a little bit, mixed. And he had just been hired by the BBC. It was a big thing for him. And John received an extraordinary ovation when he was finally introduced that day. But the moment I remember was sitting in the NBC booth, and as the champions paraded on the court, coming back to center court for the first time in 19 years, Bjorn Borg. And he walked along the baseline. And I've still to this day never seen a picture of it, but it was right in my line of vision from the NBC booth. He dropped to his knees and he kissed the baseline. And the attention of everybody in center court was really on the front of the procession. So this kind of was a sneaky moment by Bjorn. But to me, it was a sledgehammer right here to say that's what Wimbledon means. And later on, of course, that year, Pete wins and runs up in the stands. It was this record-breaking win. And he runs up in the stands to hug his parents. His parents had never been, as Mary knows, had never been around, had never been a part of the tennis scene. And the day before, it was the coming out party for Venus. Venus had beaten Hingis in the quarters. That was really her credibility announcement. Then she beat her sister in the semis, the first time they ever played in a big slam match. And then she wins the final. She got very lucky that day, from what I understand. And she wins the final. And I'm calling that with Chris Evert. And suddenly we think the roof is collapsing on our head. We had no idea that little bunker, what was happening. And we looked at the monitor and saw Richard Williams was jumping up and down on our head. And those are very famous pictures of him holding the signs. And of course, all decorum was gone at center court. But I mean, literally, we heard this thumping, and there's about that much space between your head and the roof of this bunker, as Mary knows well. Richard Williams jumping up and down. But the point I'm making was that was a parents' weekend. It was the Williams and it was Pete's parents. And that was such an extraordinary way to be introduced. The next year, of course, you had Roger beating Pete in a match that, again, I had a chance to call. 200 serve volley points. Think about that. 200 serve volley points in one match. The only time Roger and Pete ever played. And then, of course, it ended up with the Monday final. And I know you talked about the middle Sunday play earlier this week. That Monday final is, the 2008 final is the greatest sporting event I've ever had a chance to be a part of. But the 2001 final at Wimbledon, the men's final on Monday, was exceptional because it was a Davis Cup final to the 10th power. Half center court Aussies, half center court Croats. It was extraordinary, something you'd never see at Wimbledon.
That's awesome stuff.
All I can say, Steve, is if that guy who carded Ted the other day could hear him now, he'd say, "Good God, this guy is old."
He's a veteran. He's not a senior. He's a veteran. And we love you, Ted. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Tell Mary hello. And we hope to see you in person soon.
Thanks. Back at you all. Thank you.
Ted Robinson, everybody. Stories for days.